Hi, this is Folk Project Television, and I'm your host, Joe Guzzo. Now, the month of February is knocking on the door, and I, for one, I'm looking forward to the warmth of spring and, the heat that comes with the summer. I much prefer that weather. But until then, I'm kind of stuck in the house. I'd really love to have a crystal ball and help me peer into the future to see what the warmer weather will bring. A couple of my questions are, will the pandemic recede? Will we be able to visit families and friends again? And probably the most important question, will we have live, in-person folk project events? Things like the Troubadour and Swing and Turn and other similar things. Now, I don't believe anybody can prognosticate what's coming in the future, and not even our friend the little groundhog who's coming up in a few days. So, as I await what the future holds, I'm staying busy with this program, and I have something to tell you. It's with great pleasure I get to bring you a special guest today. Hailing from the great state of California, I'll be talking to Victoria Vox. And she's appeared on some of our other events in the past, so you're probably familiar with her to some amount. In addition, we'll be talking to her, we'll be interviewing her, and hearing some of her songs. So we have a pretty good show lined up. And she's been performing since '99. Been out there doing this stuff for a while, so she knows her craft pretty well. And I'm sure you're going to find her as charming to speak with as I did. And without any further delay, let's get to the show. Listen to that interview and listen to her great music. Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome Victoria Vox to our show. Victoria, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Joe.
Now, one of the things that you and I had discussed prior to the interview was some of the work that you're doing, some of the things that you have going on in your life, and what's coming up soon for you. Why don't we talk about your new album, since that's kind of an important and integral part of your career. Tell us a little about it.
Yeah, well, this is my 12th album. It's called Nirvana in REM, and it's a collaboration with a visual artist named Fred Stonehouse. And I met Fred in February of 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And so over the past year and a half, I've been working on this album. We met at a festival where songwriters convene to write music together, but inspired by works of art. So I had randomly spun the bottle for a songwriting group and then also spun the bottle for Fred's piece. So everything is by chance. And Fred loved the song that I wrote with my group called Quest for Love. And that turned into a conversation of like, would you put it on your album? I'd love to do your artwork. And then it turned into, well, why don't we just do a whole album together? And so Fred really just let me take the reins and curate which art pieces that I wanted to write about and use. And then in that process of writing the songs and seeing his artwork, realizing that his artwork deserved more than a flimsy CD booklet inside of a 5x5 package. And so then came the idea to do a book. So it is a small book, it's 7 by 7 inches, but it also has a CD, but it's 44 pages, including 20 works of art that are tied to my music.
Sounds really interesting. Yours is not the first time I have had a discussion about music and art on the same show. I have a very dear friend, David Galata, from David Galata Studios, who has dozens of paintings. And we were talking about how he uses music for inspiration on his paintings. So yours is kind of the inverse of that, I guess, or maybe a little bit of each, and maybe both of you get a little something from each other on that. That's an interesting thing. Now, the book that you have out, Does that I know you had mentioned something about the using of technology to help show people what's going on in that book. So why don't you tell us about that in the codes?
Yeah, so I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason and in synchronicity. And so before I happened to go to press for the book, I was introduced to a company on the East Coast that kind of marries the physical world with digital world. And so basically what this company is enabling me to do is create a QR code that will be in the book and the vinyl, and then allow it takes the whoever scan with their phone. And so when you scan with your phone, it then takes you to a portal where you can then continue to scan any artwork in the book to then tie to a video or a song. It could tie to information. And so in this case, we decided to create small animations of the artworks coming to life. And so they're very subtle, sort of magical movements, but it's you're looking at a piece of art, and then all of a sudden the tree starts swaying, and maybe an eye will blink or it'll wink at you, or butterflies will kind of hover. And so it's really awesome and magical. I've never seen anything like it. And just that Fred was cool with me doing that to his artwork was really generous of him, and to let me use so much of his artwork. It's pretty cool.
That it sounds uh, very unique. It is very unique. How many songs are on your new album?
So there's 10 songs, and then tied to the 20 pieces of art. And some songs only have one artwork that goes with the piece. And then when I was writing the album, I was really just scanning his Instagram page for his artworks. And so there were times that I would have several pieces in mind, and then it would kind of influence, together, they would influence one song, and using maybe titles from his pieces, or a lyric that is within the artwork. And so it's yeah, so there's 10 songs, and they kind of, I guess, together we look into dream logic, which is kind of that the sense that we make of the nonsensical when we wake up, and how everything seems to make sense in our dream, and when you think about it, it's actually all pretty crazy.
Oh yeah. Some of the logic that we come up with in our dreams isn't so logical, is it?
So Fred gets a lot of his ideas for his paintings from his dreams. And so that's the title Nirvana in REM, although some might think, oh, it's like, oh, it's the new REM album, or it's a new Nirvana album. It has nothing to do with the bands, but it actually has to do with Nirvana in REM, as in rapid eye movement in dream state.
Very cool. Very interesting evolution to get that title. That's
And that came in the writing of the last song on the record. It was actually the last song I wrote for the project, and the song is called Floating on Fruit. And the artwork is called Garden, but there is a deer floating on a bed of fruit in a forest. And so that's the artwork that's on the cover of the book and album. And in the writing of the bridge, it was kind of, this deer is just like in heaven floating on this fruit bed. And so there was just Nirvana in REM.
I don't know what drugs are being used over there on that. I'm only
None
kidding.
at all, surprisingly.
I'm only kidding. No, it sounds like I guess a lot of artists like that, and musicians like yourself, can create some incredible imagery out of things that are absolutely not real. I mean, there have been so many songs over the years about things that just would not. People would say, "Oh, if this is the way you think, you need a doctor very badly." So I get that inspiration comes from many places and in many forms. It's interesting how you boil that down. Now, the first song we're going to talk about today is Tugboat. And is that going to be on the album, or is that an old song? Or
It's actually an older song that I first wrote in 2010 at the same songwriting event where the Nirvana and REM project seed was planted, and with writers Corinne Lee and Manny Sanchez. And so again, we were a random spin, and there's a little tugboat in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, where the festival is held. And so it was inspired by this tugboat that says John Purves on the side. It's like Purves, I think, but I guess it's pronounced Purves or something. But we were like, oh, it's like a perverted tugboat. And so we kind of wrote this, sassy song about this tugboat wanting to get it on with the ocean liner.
well, it's a marvelous song, and I would like to let our viewers see and listen to the video.
Great, thank you.
So why don't we do that now?
1, 2, 3. Lady luck, find me. I will love you ferociously. We've got this whole great big sea to love. I know what they say. You and I should never play. I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea. Oh, lady luck, let me give you a tug. I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea. You are so big and fine, ripe and ready like a fine, fine wine. Baby, I could sail you all day, all night, rocking in the rocking sea. Oh, lady luck, let me give you a tug. I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea. All right, yeah. Oh, lady luck, let me give you a tug. Oh, lady luck, let me give you a tug. I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea. Break it down now. Blue is unrequited. Blue's the color of uninvited. I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea. Oh, I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea. Oh, I'm a little tugboat stuck in the bay, and you were meant for the sea.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what's going on for you at home? Who's there with you, first of all?
Well, I live with my husband, Jack Maher, and we met at the Berklee College of Music back in 1998. He was a senior, I was a freshman. And we didn't really keep in touch after college and never dated, but we ran into each other in January 2016 and then married 2 months later.
Well, good. There's
I moved
nothing wrong
my
with
home
that.
in Baltimore, Maryland, out to Costa Mesa, California. And we have our own musical projects. I with Victoria Vox, And then Jack, he has a band called Feed the Kitty, and it's a country rock band, and they do a lot of stuff locally. And so for the first 3 years we were married, we were oftentimes just doing our own thing, and I was gone a lot on the road, and he'd be gone every day playing. And so when the pandemic hit and we were forced to be at home together, I was a little bit of an adjustment, but we decided to take to the internet and play music every day. And so for the first 100 days consecutively, we played, we had on our Jack and the Box page, that's our moniker for when we play together. So it was a Jack in the Box Facebook and YouTube page. But we did the Best Medicine show. And so every day we performed an original song and a cover song for 100 days, no repeats. And we ended up having Monday Fun Days and Dance Party Friday and skits and ways to incorporate the two songs into a 13-minute show. And so we would rehearse anywhere between 4 and 8 hours per show, learning a lot of new music, taking requests, figuring out how to make a theme with songs. And it was I think if anything, it distracted us from the world outside.
We need that distraction every single day. This has been a crazy couple of years. I was very, very fortunate. The woman with whom I live, my wife today, I had known her back in high school, and we were out of touch for 40 years. Found each other, and things evolved into a wonderful marriage, and we get along very well. You know, I'm not sure there's too many other people I could have lived with happily for 2 years without, wanting to jump off the ledge of the balcony here.
Yeah.
But my wife Carol and I, we get along very well, and we're very happy. We're kind of fortunate that we both feel the same way about that, the whole being stuck together for the pandemic. My viewers have heard this many times on other interviews, so I'm not going to go any further than that. But suffice it to say that being stuck with someone you really enjoy company with is a blessing.
Mm-hmm. We
So-
kept thinking of the Huey Lewis song. Happy to be stuck with you.
I'm sorry?
It's the Happy to be stuck with you.
Ah, yes.
Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true.
I love it. I love his stuff. I actually saw him in concert a few years ago. Great performer, and some great music that he's written over the years. We are coming up on another song that I found. I love the name of it. I've used the word echo in one of my titles. And you have a song called Echo of Luck. And why don't you tell me a little bit about that song, and then we'll listen to it.
Sure. Well, that song is a name of artwork by Fred Stonehouse. And it was also when the project was first budding, and I had only written, I think, the Quest for Love song, maybe a second song, which was called Silent Song. And I was talking with Fred on the phone, just asking him about his artworks and if there was any inside information I should have for inspiration. And I was contacted, it was late February, I was contacted by a pyrographer in Hawaii named Dino Meridian, and he contacted me and said, I pyrograph ukuleles now, and I would love to burn a ukulele for you, and you can have any artwork of your choosing on your ukulele. And he's usually, in the past, he's done very lifelike burns. So the imaging on whatever instrument, it could be of a horse or a dollar bill or a photograph, and it is like a sepia tone version of the photograph. Like, it's really incredible, the detail and the exact quality that you get of this image into the wood. And so I'd first asked my mom, who's a visual artist as well, and she has a piece of artwork called "The World Needs a Hug," and it's this girl holding the planet. And I thought that would look really cool on the back of the ukulele. And but then she's like, you've got this project going on with Fred. Why don't you ask Fred if you can burn one of his images on your ukulele? And so sure enough, he agreed. And then it was just a matter of me picking which piece I wanted to have, forever on a ukulele. So I picked Echo of Luck, which looks a little bit like that.
Wow, you're not kidding when you said detail.
Yeah.
Very, very
And Dika said this is the weirdest ukulele or image that he's ever burned into an instrument. And so it is the rabbit with a human hand here. And so the song is about superstition, the trinkets and things that we collect and keep in order to feel lucky. And the rabbit's foot is one of those. But what do you do when you don't have a rabbit's foot? And so kind of that whether do we really need those things? And so it's all just about superstition and the things we do. And but yeah, then we did the artwork on the front was just kind of the leaves and lemons continued, and then sides and back, and the Echo of Luck rabbit on the back.
It's an incredible piece of work.
It's like playing a piece of art. And
yeah, it is, absolutely.
So that song had not yet been written when I received this ukulele. And it was kind of like, no pressure. What if I hated the song, or what if it was awful? And I didn't end up liking how it turned out, but I really love this song, and it'll be my second single coming out from the record.
That's great. Why don't we give it a listen?
1, 2, 3. It's animal, radical, mystical, and magical.
And we're back, and that was a great song. I really love the music, and one of the things that I try to ask all of my guests when I have an interview like this is questions about unusual things that may have gone on in their lives or things that have happened. Now, since you and Jack have been in lockdown, has anything weird happened? Have you guys run across any strange occurrences or things you couldn't quite explain or anything like that?
I I don't think so. It's been pretty uneventful for the most part. I mean, other than playing music a lot together. Uh, yeah, I can't think of anything like super weird.
Okay. Do either or both of you sing in the shower?
I do occasionally. I kind of have my go-to songs usually from Cats musical, and obviously a song that I'm working on. Also, there's a song by Cyndi Lauper called Sally's Pigeons that I think is beautiful that she wrote with Mary Chapin Carpenter, I believe. And yeah, there's always kind of like the go-to. I want to dance with somebody, Whitney Houston, that one.
Now, talking about singing in the shower is a perfect segue into the next song that we're going to talk about. And you titled that song "Clean." Why don't you tell us a little bit about the song, the inspiration for the song, and the inspiration for the music video that you supplied?
Sure. Yeah, the song, I wrote it about a year ago, and it was just after the insurrection, and there was a story in the news about the Refit family and the son who was threatened by his father that he would kill his children, if they turned him into the FBI, which the son did. And but just that whole uh, situation and trying, now that we're, it's like kind of in the moment, you're thinking, how do we move past that? How do we, so much division has been created in this country, and at some point we're going to have to sit down at the table again together and put that behind us. And if it's possible, and obviously it definitely has to do with, it's a two-way street, and both parties need to agree to move on or start fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about just starting over. And even with my own, at a time I had a falling out with my own father for 4 years and did not speak. And it took me realizing that I was never going to get an apology from him. Not that he owed me one, but I expected one for a long time. And that anytime I tried to reach out to him, it was really just to kind of get back into the conversation of what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wasn't interested. And so it took me realizing, like, we are to never talk about this again. And that's okay. And just let's move forward and be people from that point
Yeah.
on. And so the piece of artwork with that Fred's that really, I guess, caught my eye was called The Crossing. And it's of this winged jaguar type creature and looking back, and he's got some tears falling, and there's butterflies in the sky, and just and it says the difficulties of the crossing. And I think it's kind of getting from point A to point B in a relationship. And it takes some serious, like, soul work, and just it's not easy. It's not easy letting go, and it's not easy to forgive.
I understand that with the way things have polarized in this country, getting the message across that it's okay to have different opinions has become very difficult. And anything we can do, whether it's musically or through poems or stories that will help to mend those divisive feelings and help people understand it's okay to be a little different from what everybody else thinks, or to be a lot different from what everybody else thinks, and just accept that person for what they believe, even though you may believe incredibly strongly against what they say. They still they're entitled to their thoughts, whether or not you feel that it's crazy or sane or whatever, any place in between. So coming up with something like the song "Clean" is certainly more than appropriate. It's I wish every artist would come out and start performing or doing something that will bring that back into focus again. We have a wonderful country here that certainly can be a lot better if we just take the time to do that. So with "Clean," I think that we need to warn people ahead of time that they're going to see you getting clean.
Yeah.
Why don't we watch that now?
Yeah, we so I have a Patreon page where supporters can kind of throw a virtual tip my way every month. And so with this video, when I came up with the concept, I had a couple different ideas of ways of getting clean. And when I decided, it was actually me singing in the shower to that song, just me singing it a cappella, where I came up with the idea of like, I think I need to do this music video in the shower. And then came the idea of painting, the words on my body, and that we're washing those things off. And sometimes it comes off really easily. Sometimes you have to scrub till your skin is red. Sometimes it will hurt. Nothing's too painful in the video, but yeah, I did. So with my patrons, I gave them kind of like a version 1. This is the first attempt at this video, and then version 2 and 3, and then the final version. And so, yeah, there were moments where there were a couple slip ups, but it is PG, or I would say, PG.
Well, since I have seen it, I can tell everyone who's watching, you are not going to see anything that's going to upset you unless you don't like watching people use soap and water. So we should be safe to put that video on as is. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to give you a chance to listen to the song "Clean" by Victoria Vox.
I've been thinking a lot lately how all of this has changed me. I'll even admit I was wrong. It doesn't matter what the truth is, the who or why or what ifs, if we both agree to move on. Can we start clean? I won't let this anger get the better of me, and looking behind us will only blind us every time. Can we start clean and stop looking for answers for everything? No mentioning triggers or pointing of fingers, and give up the fight. Can we start clean? Yeah, clean. Can we start clean? Yeah, clean. I get the feeling that we tiptoe, but it's time to let go all the pain from yesterday. Deep down I know that I love you, and how I wanna call you, but I don't know what you say. Can we start clean? I won't let this anger get the better of me, and looking behind us will only
Okay, now that we're all cleaned up, uh, what I'd like to ask you is, do you have a theme, just a general theme or a specific theme that your album, that you want to present to everyone in your album?
Ooh, yeah, I guess the overall theme, even though it's not there, I mean, there's only like two, I would say, like relationship love songs on the album. It does have it is about relationships and um but it's pretty artsy. I guess overall the theme is that it's art pop. And so there's themes of the artist's dilemma, of that the truer you are to your art, the less money you'll make. There's a song, one of the songs, the Silent Song that I mentioned earlier, is basically from the perspective of Fred's mother, who was one of 7 children, and 5 of them, including his mother, went deaf at a young age. And it turns out they learned much later in life that they all had scarlet fever, rheumatic fever, and there was scarring on her heart. And that's how they knew that she had had rheumatic fever, and which explained a lot. But people kind of thought they were just, they were immigrant children from Italy and they couldn't speak English. And so, but kind of, they have a lot of, his family is very religious. So there's a lot of, there's some religious undertones in all the songs. But religious as in like Roman Catholic, but then also very superstitious. And I guess religion is it can be religious. People are very superstitious, but then also superstitious with kind of like ESP and seeing the future. And one of, I guess it's Fred's great aunt, either great aunt or great aunt, had the gift, and she claimed to have the gift. And she told Fred's mother that she had the gift, and Fred's mother did not want the gift. And on top of having the gift, she's also deaf.
Mm-hmm.
And the family, kind of his explaining of family gatherings where, you've got your mom and then 4 of your aunts and uncles who are also deaf. Like, I just can't imagine that being any sort of normal circumstance. So
Now,
it's a song about that, kind of that situation. And there is one kind of environmental song. 2 songs from the album were actually written before I met Fred. So 8 were directly inspired by his artwork. One song called Think Twice, which is, I guess it is about mental health. Mm-hmm. And just knowing that you're loved. That song is called Think Twice. And I had written that song just a couple weeks before meeting Fred. So when he first heard it, he actually made an artwork. So kind of like in the example of your friend that you interviewed, he did produce an artwork in relation to the song. And then the only other song that was actually written a long time ago, about 10 years ago, was called Eye of the Animal. And when I saw Fred's artwork, 21 Tears, I knew immediately, like, that song that belongs to that artwork. And so was able to, re-record it, and came out with a really groovy version, bass and electric guitar, and there's some kind of affected ukulele, birds chirping. I recorded some birds in Australia back in 2011, and I was so glad that I was able to use that recording. And so there's like religion and nature, and obviously his artwork has a lot of these strange creatures in them, but they all have very they're humanized eyes and glances, and so it's all very bizarre.
Well, I think we've seen through this pandemic that there are very many strange creatures. Not necessarily more 4-legged ones. There are some 2-legged creatures that are very strange. And the fact that we have an opportunity to see some of this artwork through your album, using the QR code and, the internet, we can enjoy the creativity of two wonderful artists, yourself and Fred. So I think that's in and of itself, that's a very wonderful way to present the visual arts and the musical arts at the same time. And for the rest of the world, I'm going to thank you now.
Oh, well, thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I would. It took us a year from the first email that you and I communicated, and I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. There's been a number of things going on with the you are involved in local politics to some amount with the recall thing that went on a while back for Newsom, and just a non-event there. And then the fact that
Waste of money that was.
yeah, and then the fact that we are worked through your schedule and busyness that you have with your album and everything else going on. The fact that you, for a while there, were worried about Corona, which, gee whiz, why do we worry about that now, right? I'm glad we finally got this done. So thank you so much for your patience. And
thank you for yours.
and I want to thank Jack Maher for his contributions to the two songs that we put up, the Tugboat and Echo of Luck. So I want to thank him for helping you out with that. They both were fantastic again, and clean. There'll be the credits were at the end of that song, so everybody knows what they are. Well, we're going to roll them at the end of the show as well. And we're going to ask everybody, please take the time to send, if you appreciate the music you heard today and you want to help out these folks that are no longer able to perform in a venue because there are no venues open, please look at their Patreon page and make a donation.
Yeah, it's much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome. So unless you have something amazing to tell the good folks, we can we can say goodbye.
Oh, nothing amazing. We're just hanging in there. Everyone hang in there. We'll get
That's
through
right.
this.
Well, thank you again
On
so
the other
much.
side.
I can't wait till things settle down. I can go outside and kiss people again, hug
Yeah.
people again. You know,
Just want
not
to
going to
make out
happen.
with everybody.
Not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. Be well, stay safe. Tell Jack I send my regards, and hopefully we get to talk to you again in the future, and maybe not through Zoom. Maybe we'll do it in person.
Wonderful. Thank you, Joe.
Take care, Victoria. And as I promised at the start of the show, Victoria is charming and thoughtful, and I hope you enjoyed listening to her. Now, if you want to know more about her, go to victoriavox.com. On that website, you'll find that you can purchase her music, and there's a bio there, and there's all kinds of other information that you might find very interesting about Victoria. Her songs are also available through streaming services such as Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Pandora, etc. And a quick reminder that if you like her music, you can also make donations at Patreon on patreon.com/VictoriaVox. And with venues still closed, it's only donations from kind folks like yourself that sustain people like her and other performers in this time of need. You heard us talking about the art of Fred Stonehouse during the interview. If you're curious as to his work, you can go to his website at fredstonehouseart.com. Now that's all I have for you today, my friends. Be sure to look for our next show, which premieres on February 13th. On that show, you'll meet the talented performer Dana Cooper. And we'll do some talking, listen to some of his songs, and you won't want to miss that one. That's another good one we have coming up. So be sure to check it out in 2 weeks. Until then, stay informed on the status of the pandemic. Keep yourselves safe and healthy. and enjoy as much music as you can. And as I say at the end of every show, remember to keep peace in your heart. Thanks for watching. Have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you then. Bye.